a little bit of footage of an object that.
Why is that not released anything on Roswell?
I don't know.
That's what like you're.
I was secretly hoping that people would have raided the place, and they didn't get shot, and
they wouldn't get shot.
They got blown up, right?
They would have got shot.
They'd have met some aliens, all right.
Dude, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's my thing. Like, when things aren't a big deal, you don't make them a big deal. And if you're not hiding something, you're not.
But I'm not saying that Roswell's not hiding things. They're obviously, it's a top secret military installation. I don't know if they're hiding alien bodies in a crashed ship from the 1950s. But it's not. It would be naive to think that they're not hiding the next generation spacecraft or aircraft or weaponry or something.
Technology,
right,
that they've maybe uncovered from a 1950s spacecraft.
I mean, they say. I mean,
that's
the rumor.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would. I'd like to see it.
That's what I don't understand. Like, what's the secret?
I don't know.
Like, if you got it, flown it.
Yeah. I mean, I think once if. And we'll go down this rabbit hole. If there's a crashed spacecraft in Roswell, Area 51 has it, down in the basement. They've been working on it from the 1950s. I think once it gets to a point where they've taken all the technology out of it that they can get out of it, then maybe we find out.
But what if it's like the Transformers and they have the cube down there and it's
I mean, again.
That's what makes those movies so damn good.
Right.
It's because they're almost believable.
Right.
It's like, wait,
that's
the Hoover Dam wasn't created for the reason I thought it was?
Well, what was that movie? The Da Vinci Code.
Oh,
when you have a movie that can tie in actual historical events into their conspiracy type thing, it makes for a great movie. Yep. The little cheesy movie, National Treasure. I love that movie.
Oh, that thing is true of, absolutely. Because it makes you really think, like, it's not far-fetched. It takes that fiction movie and going, this is a documentary. This is something we don't know about.
Like you want to go search for treasure yourself.
Yeah, because, right? I mean, look, it just happened. I was talking, because I get kind of in these rabbit holes of history and things that are off the wall. And there was another lost city in Egypt just uncovered a couple weeks ago.
Right, well, look at Troy.
And it's like, what the hell? Like,
for how many years people thought that the Battle of Troy was a work of fiction, right? Like it was made up. It was just a thing. They found it. It's like 10 years ago. I think they actually found. So it wasn't. Yeah, I'm sure some of the stories were embellished.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But to actually find that it was an actual historical place, after decades and decades of it being, just thought to be completely fictional. So, I mean, we find stuff like that all the time, man.
Do you tie in the alien things with the ancient?
Oh, the ancient alien. I love that show, bro. I really do. A lot of it. I feel like I should be having my
this whole episode's like that,
right? But man, it's so because they make a good argument for a lot of. Now some of the stuff's just the
guy that always got his hair all crazy out.
Yeah.
I listened to some of his things he said. I'm like, man, that's really like that makes me want to go abso-freaking-lutely.
Bro, when they start talking
and then he says the next comment, I'm like, oh, you crazy, bro?
Right. Like the pictures of like spaceship looking things and people looking there in space suits and stuff, on the ancient
the hieroglyphics and all that.
Yeah, bro, it's like, man.
It's funny. We were in Nevada a few weeks ago, and we went to the desert, and there's an area. It's called the Valley of Fire, and there's actual hieroglyphics in the caves, and you go check them out. And, we went, and that's what kind of made me go down this possibility when I first started thinking about having this conversation with you, particularly if we ever going to be, because again, it's off our topic, but it really got me thinking, like, who put this shit here?
Right.
Because some of the things, they're not like, I don't see not human, but they almost look like. It's just something that wouldn't make sense in my thought of history. Like, it's like, that wouldn't fit here.
You know, and the whole argument, man, was like, if we arrived in ancient Egypt in a hover jet, you know, we would be gods, you know.
And there was.
Right. but they would describe that as like a flying chariot or you know, because they equate it to things. So that's what's so like
believable.
Yeah, man. When you start watching Ancient Alien things, like, dude, were we really visited by aliens back then? But then they start talking, like you said, the next 4 statements out of their mouth, like, oh, this dude's cuckoo. Yeah. Like, edit that out, man, so we can get back to
but how do you still? And again, I know the whole thing about having miracles, you know, or ancient things that can't be explained. There's still so many things about our ancient times that I'm looking at it going, how the hell they do that? Like, we can't do that today.
Right.
You know? Like the pyramids.
Well, you know? I have my own kind of theory on pyramid building, man. Like, because I sat there and I'm like, man, how would I build a pyramid back then? You know? And I look around and I'm like, you know, with all the sand they have, if I put a base level of blocks, now they had hundreds of thousands of slaves and methods of moving these blocks. But if I put a base level of blocks, and then on the outside of that, I built the sand up around it. Then I put the next base level of blocks. I'm never going over ground level, right? It's just, I keep mounding the sand up, sloping it down. I can build as high as I want, you know? So it's possible. Like, I think you and I, with 100,000 people that we can make work, you know, 18 hours a day for fear of us killing them, could probably get a pyramid built.
But it's,
you know,
it's
even
more
with using there.
I get that, and I mean, yeah, it's a grateful. I mean, there's plenty of ideas of how they did it, and you know, like you said, the way they moved stones and built it, and that could be plenty of possibilities. But I mean, sheer physics, they could,
right.
Like you said, with a lot of people, they could have actually done it. To me, it's more the symmetry, the geometric way that they align with things that kind of made me go, what the hell? Like, and it's even the Mayans and it's not just
it's too much to be luck.
It's exactly
right.
You don't just line things up with stars and moons and you know, things like that. It just doesn't happen. Just coincidental. This aligns with this, and when they even start breaking the global maps down, and they're going, this is an exact, you know,
on the parallel line,
you pin things out, and they didn't have that technology then, and
or the structures that these big, huge, massive things they build with the intent of it being viewed from the sky.
Yeah,
like that's
why,
right? That's incredible, man.
Why?
Now, it can be argued that they think their gods are looking down on them, you know. So they want their gods to see those images, but it doesn't take the impressiveness away from it. Like, that's pretty impressive.
It's insane. It's in the magnitude of these things that these people built, and when the only thing that really mattered was survival, the amount of time.
Well, I mean, they also didn't have cell phones.
You know?
So
I'm just saying, like, but they literally had to find food every day.
Right.
They had to like, survival was, you weren't worried about going to work.
Right.
You were worried about waking up, eating, and going, you
right.
know, going to sleep without dying.
Right.
You know, and just the foresight that they took to, you know, it just impresses the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. And it's like, when evolution happened, it's, you know, in our human evolution, not bringing up any other rabbit holes we're going down, but when just human evolution from then till now, it's depressing when I think about the work ethic and the mindset of how that's changed in people.
Well, modern conveniences has done that.
Definitely.
You know,
I mean, I know why it's not. It's just I'm saying it's just depressing to look at it and go.
But we're making different strides.
Oh,
you know, that are I'm sure 1,000 years from now, people will be looking back on what we did and like, man, it was pretty impressive with the limited amount of things that they had.
Very good point.
You know,
very good point. Yeah, I mean, it's technology, it just in general, but it's weird how it blew up, and that's what just kind of makes me think. You know, it kind of ties back in the whole alien space theories that our technology just went I mean, in the 150 years of modern, America or modern civilization, that we had 120 years of still chipping at the stone to make a wheel, to in the last 50 years just boom. I mean, it just went from, and I was like, why?
I don't know.
Because we got some new technology. Because we got somebody what the hell is it? I'm just.
But I mean, and I would say yes if the government released those things. But you have like Bill Gates in his garage, So I mean, those people.
What if they're aliens?
Ooh.
What if Gates and Bezos and
it might be
and Elon Musk are
what's his face? Tesla. Nikolai Tesla, not the car. Tesla claimed till the day he died that he communicated with extraterrestrials, I
didn't know that.
Yes, he actually claimed that, and there's pictures of him sitting like in this, and I forget what the cage is called. It's some kind of cage thing where the electricity is dissipated.
It's like a Jacob's ladder situation.
Something like but there's a name I'm not even going to guess, but there's a name for the cage that he sits in. And you'll see him sitting in there just like in his rocking chair with his electricity going off all around. But he would sit there and he said he would be able to communicate with extraterrestrials. And that's where he got a lot of his knowledge from. Like he was actually able, and the government shut him down, he was actually able to transmit electrical currents through the ground, to the next thing. But he claims that he was so close to the path of free universal electricity, like he was right on the cusp of it, and he was basically shut down for monetary reasons, which is freaking ridiculous. But but yeah, him. There was another guy. Oh God, dog. He was out. Now this guy was a little kookier than Tesla. He was an Area 51 nut, kind of, and I say nut, but you know what I mean. Like he wasn't taken as
a little different than
right, and I don't think he was taken as seriously in the mainstream science world as Tesla was taken. But he had a deal he was inventing before he passed, that they say could have possibly slowed down aging, like increased human lifespan. Used electricity, but he claimed he spoke to aliens too, and that's where he got that stuff from. But they say his design, it wasn't complete because he died while he was doing it, but the principles behind his design are actually feasible. It's crazy the things that these guys did, but they all claim that they got visions from aliens.
It's crazy. I didn't know that about Nikola Tesla. Mm-hmm. I know he's definitely probably one of the most underrated inventors or brainiacs in that era, because
right.
he was so different.
He had some weird theories though, man. He said something along the lines like, when we understand 3 and 9, we'll break the code or something. Like he was a
there's a lot of people,
guy.
There's a lot of things that and especially in Elon Musk, and there's another guy, Eric Weinstein. I don't know if you
I've heard. Mm-hmm.
They have some really. Eric Weinstein has a thing called the theory of everything, and he talked about what you're talking about in the dimension side of it, right? And he said this came out not that long. He just put this out publicly not that long ago, and he says it's his life work, but he's always been scared to publish it because of the backlash and the criticism, and so he's actually put it out there, and the world can view it, and he's got models and diagrams, and it's some crazy shit. Like it's like going, and he put it out there for critics, and he's like, okay, now like
tear it up, right?
Tell me what you think. And so far, because I've kind of been staying in the loop with it, everything that they have tore down, he's rebutted, and he's like, okay, but now this is why of this, and like, okay, like there's no rebuttal to the rebuttal.
Wow.
Like it's
what's the premise behind his theory?
Theory of everything.
But what is that?
Why everything exists. Why things are what they are, and it's broken down to molecular and I can't. You have to look it up and read it, because I am not even remotely smart enough to explain it to you. But he breaks it down enough into a water wiggle.
A what?
A water wiggle. You know, like it's a little balloon with water, like squishy kind of thing, but it has like the water, the gel in it, like the little balloon.
Okay, right.
Water wiggle. You can buy them on Amazon. Buy a water wiggle on Amazon and follow his diagram, and in the way he tells you to move a water wiggle is the way that time and space travel in the dimensions, because a water wiggle is not the dimensions of a water wiggle, because it's not just three-dimensional, right? Because it's dimensions inside the water as it expands and contracts and moves. And
right.
Like, it's like, what? You know, but he's put this theory in front of, all of these. And
I heard. I don't remember who was talking about it, but I watched a video on. It might have been who's the real smart black guy?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I think it was him that was talking about. We were talking about dimensions, and he's like, if you take like an ant and you put them on a table, that they're operating in one dimension space, but then you put like a bookshelf on that, that becomes different. Or if you touch the ant, you're coming from three-dimensional. But if all of that were on another desktop, like that would be, and he just goes off. And like he loses me like 5 desktops in, right?
Insane.
But it was, and he says it too, that when you're getting past like 4th and 5th dimension, the human brain can't even conceive.
No.
Like your thought power is not even high enough to even conceive what a fifth dimension would even be. Like it's crazy. And they say that you couldn't see it because you operate in 3rd dimension. Like your eyes wouldn't even let you see a 5th dimension or something. It's something crazy like that. Like it's insane to think about, man.
So how did they think about it? How did they get there?
Theory.
Like,
it's thought theory. Right. But what's crazy, man, like Einstein, his theory of relativity, right? That time is relevant.
So this plays Einstein's theory of relativity.
So basically, for those who aren't familiar, Einstein's theory of relativity is the faster or the closer you get to the speed of light, time becomes relevant to that object. So like in essence, it slows down the faster you get to the speed of light, to where he thinks that if you travel at the speed of light, time actually doesn't exist for you. And Einstein used the explanation, like if you took 2 identical twins and you took one and flew him around in space at the speed of light for 20 years, and he came back to Earth, his twin would be 20 years older. He would still be the same age as whenever he left. Some scientists
You just blew half our audience's mind.
Well, they actually took, I think that the fastest jets we have that are capable of circumventing the Earth travel like 3 or 4 times the speed of sound, or something crazy like that. Well, they actually took these two stopwatches that were could go to like the ultra millisecond or something. Like I don't even know how far. Like it was 0.00000, and they kept time at that precise of a measurement. Well, they took one stopwatch and kept it at their where they were doing this study, and they took the other stopwatch and put it in a jet, and they flew that jet around the world 3 or 4 times or whatever. And when they brought it back, the stopwatch that was in the jet was slower, bro. Like by like milligazilliseconds or whatever, but it was slower. Like they basically proved Einstein's theory correct. Like it's freaking nuts, bro.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And that's what floors me when people think that things in science and they say, I don't believe it for whatever. And it's like, when you have the scientific community behind something or move something, and it's...
But most of those people, the science that they don't believe is the science that's controversial, right? It's a science that really can't be proven too much, and half the scientific communities on each side of it. So them not believing this side of it, there's still science behind what they believe. So it's not like they're going against the science. They're going against the science that whoever they're talking to might choose to accept, right? And I'll use global warming as
But global warming is not a 50-50 thing in the scientific community.
it kind of is.
It's not
man.
at all.
There's tons of scientists that don't agree with the way that they categorize global warming. Because the climate's been changing since the beginning of time.
That's my point, and that's what I'm saying. So the argument on global warming that bothers me is when they say the science doesn't back it. That's a crock. The science backs global warming. What the science necessarily doesn't support or back is that it's human caused.
Right.
So stop that argument.
Right.
Global warming is a hoax. Global warming is real as shit. It happens. Well, it's the cycle of this earth.
Two things. They shouldn't call it global warming.
I agree.
Climate change. But yeah, two, I think it's very naive of us to think that as humans that we impact on such a high level that we're changing global climate. Because we don't. But now pollution's real, and I don't think you should pollute. I think people should do their part to not pollute.
But you got to admit that if no humans were on this earth, the levels of CO2, the destruction of soil, the deforestation of plants.
Deforestation, yes. O2 levels, my problem is this. One volcanic eruption is equivalent to like 30 years of man-made CO2.
I'm not talking...
It's like ridiculous.
You got to look... Because one of the biggest things, and I hate that we're going here, but we're going
here. We'll go back. Because there's some time travel stuff that blew my mind I want to talk about. I mean, if you want to get your point out, we can get it out.
No, good. I'm good. It's a long point.
I was watching a guy talk about time travel, and we had brought it up with Einstein's thing, and one of the things that really blew my mind, and just the difference in the way that I think when we say time travel versus the way a scientist thinks with time travel, but when he started talking about the almost impossibility of time travel because it's so complex. You also have to take into account, he said the Earth, where it's at right now in the universe, is not the same place where it was in the universe 100 years ago, or 1,000,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago. That our solar system travels through space as a whole as well. So if you were just able to go back 100 years into the past, and you don't calculate for the movement of the solar system through the universe, you end up in the middle of space 100 years ago, right? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like who even thinks of that? But so just
how do they verify that?
Because the universe is constantly moving and expanding. Like it's true.
There's no doubt. They know that space is ever expanding, and that it's infinite in its
So one thing faster than the speed of light.
It's the growth of the universe.
The growth of the universe, right?
But I wonder at. Well, I guess they can now because again, the sun doesn't. Well, I guess the sun does move if it moves.
Yeah, all of it moves. The whole galaxy moves through the universe. But I mean, think about that because it's true, man. Like if we're all moving, and you went back 150 years, you'd
have to know whether
you'd have to calculate how fast the Earth is moving through the universe and where the Earth was in the universe 150 years ago.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's pretty.
I can see it in your face. I made the same face, like holy crap, dude. Like,
I've never heard that before. I mean, but it makes sense because again, if we're ever expanding, you can't stay still. So but if we're moving forward, what's coming behind us?
No, I don't know. Right, no clue. But it's nuts, man. I like to think about that, bro.
And that's why NASA is so important. And again, I guess the argument is how much do you invest in that?
Right.
Because it's.
Well, I think that if the need's there, then the increase in funding is there, right? Like, if we saw a true need, like everybody came together and said, okay, we're to a point where population growth and climate change and
but once the need's there, it's too late to start a.
What I'm getting at is if you had enough credible people saying, look, we got 100 years, and then it's over with, you start seeing a whole lot more money.
See, that goes back to my argument with the climate change. Is that you're always going to have a percentage of people that say, well, I think we got 250, not 100.
Right.
Because that's a scientific argument that everybody says that.
But I'll argue this, man. If we can colonize Mars,
We can't.
but I'm just saying, let's say right now we had the capability of colonizing Mars.
We can't breathe on Mars.
I know. Just follow me down this rabbit hole for a second, right? You don't have to come down it. Just watch me drop down a rabbit hole and yell at me from the top. If we were able to colonize Mars right now, and the biggest issue with Earth was climate change and us not being able to grow food and being too cold or being too hot or being too... If we can colonize Mars, why can't we colonize Earth? Right? We can still build those geo bubbles here.
Again, I'm not saying we should have a plan B. I'm not saying we shouldn't explore it.
Right.
But the whole conversation for me to colonize Mars is asinine. It is absolutely crazy to sit here and say that in 50, Elon Musk is saying within 30 years, he can have people living on Mars. And I'm going,
Well, then show me on the moon first.
man.
Right? That's my whole thing. Show me on the moon.
Like-
Show me, go in the middle of a desert and build a facility and show me that they can live there for you.
Oh, they've done that. They've done that in Nevada. They've done that all through, they have places like saying outside of those areas that they have geodomes built and have tested that, like the movie back in the Biodome at Pauly Shore.
Right.
They have those facilities for that exact reason, and they've kind of started them with movie productions. That's where a lot of the Mars movies are filmed and stuff like that. So I mean, that's been done.
But it's sustainable. Like, can they sustain there?
Sure, it is until something tragic happens.
Right.
Until there's a storm that they can't see, or what, something like that blows shit up, or an oxygen explosion within the geodome, shit like that. And you can't.
It's not like you could run out.
They're 5 years away from parts. They're 5 years
Right.
away from anything getting to them. So
And Murphy's Law is going to exist on Mars.
no matter
Absolutely.
Murphy's Law is Murphy's Law. It's going to exist
Right.
anyways in
Right.
this universe.
Right. That's
if it can
why I
happen.
said show me on the moon first, man. Because you're not 5 years away from the moon.
No, I
Show me on the
don't
moon
disagree
first.
with that. I think that's also a waste of time too. I think it's a waste of money to think that. I'm not saying we could never colonize it, but our technology right now, I think, is so far away from saying.
But does that want to colonize Mars push the need for technology, which advances us even farther?
Well, that's why I'm saying we still need to
people.
explore it. Like, I'm good with the rovers being up there. I'm good with them flying drones on Mars. I'm good with them taking soil samples. I'm good with all that. But the whole conversation and to start budgeting money, for the potential to colonize, and like you said, I just think we can't breathe there.
Right.
So